think about Chioma, this is what I see. That is what drags
kingdom. You put Hala here like church. You know why? Church is the only organized community we have in our transportation business. I told Harrison, I said, I've already gone far. How many of us know TAP technologies?
Hackathon sessions. Because that's how ideas are bettered. It's when you come together and brainstorm.
And my phone number. So you'll be added there. And the point is that any information that comes our way, we
Talents and startups. You know, before, as a techie, before you can make a wave, before you can make any...
Affected in the general code base, so you can prefix with a hot fix. So this is one of the best practices.
So many of them turn out to volunteer for this event. That will tell you the level of awareness.
Having done that, let me introduce another giant in the house, another Nukumo. Can we get to the next speaker? Where is the media? Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I know everybody makes mistake in that my son name. It's actually Sogbesan. So my name is Olusegun, Sogbesan. And I know you're wondering, why is Igbo Yoruba? I'm one day in Igbo. And I'm Umeba, no nature here. So, how are you guys? So, the topic I was given was starting and scaling a startup. I don't, is the slide on? And then when Mr. Daniel was discussing, he mentioned quite a number of things that, things like, don't do the same thing that our fathers have done, Okeke and Sons Nigeria Limited, by having a shop and all that. And because if we want to go global, there are things that we must correct at this stage. I believe most of us here, we already have startups. Some are working with startups, and some of us, we're planning to start. Now, next slide, please. Now, in 2020, the startup failure rate in Nigeria reportedly stood at 61%. Meaning that only 39 out of the startups in Nigeria survives. That's excluding those we have in other African countries, which ranges for 75%, and in Ethiopia, 74% in Ghana, and 53% in Senegal. So you find out that most times you see startups in the next 2 years, next 6 months. In fact, that was one I saw recently. They raised about how many $1 million, and the next 6 months they were shut down. And I'm wondering, that's why the next slide, I wrote something there. I said, you don't need money to do business. And when one of my friends and brothers saw it, Mr. Harrison, DA to the governor, he said that these people will kill me for that statement. But I said it's true. You don't need money for business. Now, I'm going to try to make it, although I have limited time, but to make it as practical as possible. Now, how many of us already have startups of our own? How many? Okay. How many of us are planning to start? We're planning to start. Now, if I may ask, what do you need? It's a question, yes. What do you need? You need? Oh, resources is ambiguous. Huh? Your idea. Idea to do what? Because I'm trying to make it, I don't want to just follow the slide like that, but I want to try to make it as practical as possible. As practical as possible. Please, the next slide. I want to show us something. Next one. Now, for those of us that already have startups, this is a 6 spot. We'll call it the 6 spot. This is what you need, right? Everyone that has a startup or a business, you want to always have satisfied customers, right? Committed employees, right? And then financial returns. The truth is before the startup, there is something, and which at times we miss. In fact, when Mr. Daniel was talking about the transportation business, I told Harrison, I said, I've already gone far. How many of us know TAP technologies? TAP. Okay, have we heard of Carry card? in Lagos. The owners of Kari is called Tap Technologies. They do the same for Lagos, Ogun State, Ibadan, Kano, and Kaduna. And when he raised the issue of the transportation business, I was discussing with Harrison, and I said, I've already started something, and I've even gone far. Without spending a dime. I only spent money on data, perhaps like he said, and being able to propose value, and being able to see a need. Before every startup, next 2 slides. Before the startup, we have what we call the need. Most of the times, most of us here, what we do is that because we see Emeka doing something, and perhaps I have the skill to do it, we'll go and copy what Emeka is doing. Without trying to know that, is that thing Emeka doing actually a gap in the society, or perhaps a lag? For instance, what brought about the transportation stuff was when I was teaching entrepreneurship in one of my classes in strategic management. One of the guys there, he's a graduate, but he rides tricycles. And I said, what's your plan for the next 5 years? He said, one of my colleagues, he has 12 tricycles. So I'd like to have more than him. But the problem is, the people remitting the money, they don't usually remit money on time. And I said, what if the government decides to ban tricycle in the next 3 years after you have purchased the 12 tricycles? What happens? That's when it dawned on him that there was no plan at all. Initially, before in Onitsha, we had Okada, right? And now it's gone. Do you know that in Onitsha, before, that the taxis that were used in Onitsha were brand new Mercedes-Benz? How many of us know? In this same Onitsha, where you see tricycles today, what was used as taxis were brand new Mercedes-Benz. So if we have followed that pattern, perhaps we should be like Dubai now, where we use Rolls-Royce too, by now, as taxi. And I said, why don't we start with shuttle buses? You know one thing with Onitsha, I'm trying to bring it back home because Onitsha is not Lagos, and I keep saying this thing everywhere I go. If you can succeed in Onitsha, you can succeed anywhere. If you can succeed in Onitsha, you can succeed anywhere, because Onitsha is a very strong city. Very, very strong one. Because I know how we started with Onitsha Business School and where we are today. Onitsha Business School is 9 years. And where we are today. So now, what did we do? I said, we'll start with what they know. I'm sharing this. Some people might say, what am I sharing? They might see the idea. Say, if they see the idea, I'll bring another one again. What we did, I told the guy in class, I said, I'm using this to explain because I saw a need. And what was the need? People now, because of the inflation in the petrol price, people want to drop their cars, right? But the problem is, I can't drop my car. For me, for instance, I have laptops, and I know the kind of documents in that laptop. The way the keke guys rob, the keke guys themselves are now robbers. I can't drop my car, so I have to work extra to make sure I afford the car. But if I have something like the last mile and the first mile we have in Lagos, like the Lagos state-owned buses, I can actually drop my car and use it. Now, people want to drop their cars. People also want safety. And I said, why don't we go for brand new shuttle buses, have cameras inside, then now integrate technology into it by having a seamless payment system whereby you don't have to use cash. Now, if we have to use card, most people will be concerned about, security of the card, perhaps network. And I had to start researching. I said, which company is already using a card that works offline? And that's when I had to research about TAP. That's what they use in Lagos. Now, I reached out to TAP. I sent them a mail. They replied me and called. By the time we talked, I had to sign some non-disclosure agreements with them so that I don't reveal what they are doing. And when I did, they sent me some things. The money they were asking me to pay to implement that in what I was planning was huge. I said, okay, I'm an expert in this. I've seen a need. And I also can see where they can benefit from. And what did I do? I proposed value. The same company called me back. Now, this is a company I'm supposed to pay over 20 million. Called me back and said, the same thing I'm supposed to pay for, they are now giving me free of charge. All the machines they were meant to use, because they are NFC devices, they are giving me free of charge. So first of all, you must understand that you must see a need. What is that need that you're trying to fill in. And then that brings us to the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is the individual who innovates the new value to meet the identified need. Most of us, we are going to tech because of money. You will go into it because of money, and you will still rush out again because of the same money. There must be a need. That's the bedrock of every startup. You must see a need, and you must work on it. And then the next thing, if most times when I ask, people tell me the next thing is business plan. And I said, no. It's the business model. How many of us have heard of the business model canvas? Just very few of us. Now, if, for instance, you are to build a house, you know, the architect draws the whole house, even models it for you. See how the toilet looks like, the 3D models, the toilet, the bedroom, and everything. The same way for your business, you need a business model. It gives you in one picture, especially with the business model canvas, what your business is all about. Both your customer segment, your key partners, your cost structure, your revenue generations. In the next slide, you see a sample of that. You need a business model. Every business, every startup needs a business model. But I found that most people, I have an idea. They just rush into it. It's money that we need, and they go in, and before you know it, 6 months, everybody's out. For you to successfully run a startup, you must have the full knowledge of it. Look at Mr. Daniel. He stands here today. He speaks comfortably because he understands the full knowledge of what IG Hub is all about. Same thing, I'm from Onitsha Business School. We stand tall today because we know what Onitsha Business School is all about. If it's about money, we would have closed down that business long time ago. But I can tell you that feats that we have achieved, even recently, currently, if you check, we are the only academic partner in Africa for ISACA USA. ISACA is the body that runs the CISA programs, the CISMs, and all other things. So if you watch, you must be able to recognize the need. And then I'll come up to what I said about entrepreneurship, because everything about the startup and scaling up the startup has to do with entrepreneurship. And most of the times, we define entrepreneurship as being the boss of our own. Next 2 slides. We define entrepreneurship as being the boss of our own. Now, this will give you a clue about starting up and scaling up. The main slide will be dropped on the group. Now, next slide again. Now, entrepreneurship is the process of creating something new of value. You have seen that need. You create something new of value that will meet that need. Then you bring it to the marketplace to satisfy the identified needs. Now, the marketplace is where people can easily access it, but there's a difference between the market and the marketplace. The market itself is your mind, is the mind of the consumers. Most of the times, we feel that the market is Ochanja. Its main market is Relief. That's the marketplace. That's where goods are in change. But the market itself is in your mind. That's why when you see Coca-Cola trying to advertise, they toy with your mind. They make it chilly. At that moment where they're advertising Coca-Cola, you want to take it. So the market itself is your mind. But you, because you have already assessed people's mind, being that they need those things, you bring it to the marketplace where you satisfy those identified needs and exploit business opportunities and build new ventures around them. Now, the building of the new ventures around them is what we call the scaling up. And you have to understand when to scale up. If you miss it at that point, it will be a disastrous action. You must understand where to scale up. Now, remember that was Domino's, they prepare jollof rice right now, right? Domino's, what they did is not building a new venture. It's called grafting in entrepreneurship. Just the same way you graft in an orange tree that is sweet and an orange tree that is not sweet. You pick the branch of the one that is sweet and input it in the one that is sweet. That's grafting. That's grafting entrepreneurship. But when you build a new venture around that value, for instance, Domino's can say, I want to open up a car wash. Automatically, what they're telling you is that if you're coming there to wash your car, somehow, you will still come inside the primary business to eat because you must wait for that car. So these two things are scaling up. You must understand, do I want to scale up my growth or development? They are two different things. Because it's possible that you are growing, but you are not developing. But you can't be developing and not growing. That's the truth. So on these things, and until when you have done these things and you have met these needs, that's when the rewards come. The financial rewards, the personal satisfaction, the you satisfying the customers. That's when the reward comes. But there is something we always miss out, and those are the risks involved. Now, the risks involved comes in form of financial, psychological, and social risks. My time is already up. Is the financial, the psychological, and the social risks. Most of the times when we're creating startups and when we're scaling up, our burdens or our whatever we're looking at is always towards the financial risks. But we're forgetting something, the psychological risk that comes with it and the social risk that comes with it. Most of the times for us that is in tech is when we started, your parents will tell you, your mates are busy looking for a job. You are starting up a new product. We have not done anything. The psychological risk is there. You might not even have time for your friends. The social risk is there. So you must consider all these things. And then the people you also bring on board before you can start up and you can scale up. That's the truth. So, but for the most important thing is identify that need. Make sure you have the full capacity to fulfill that need. And then also look out for partners. There's so many things to talk about. The slide is there to be dropped on the group. And perhaps after this, you could always get my number. You could ask questions because it's not, we can't talk about everything here. That's the truth. And because we didn't also start on time. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, because of time, we'll just carry on. Any questions? You go carry award though. Posted the award. All right. Just one question, please.
So I listened to what you said, and I actually learned a couple of things, especially the business model you talked about. So one of the questions that I had was, you talked about entrepreneurship, and you said entrepreneurship is finding a need and meeting that need, through your solutions. And I just want to ask, what of people who don't find a need, but they find a market? What happens in that case? Because there are times when it's not like, for instance, there is already Bolt, there is already Uber operating in Lagos, but I just see that it's a large market and everybody can take advantage. And then I go into the market. What happens then? Do I still have to go through all this process, or do I just model existing structures that have been set by these other organizations? Thank you.
Okay, to answer that, the truth is, using the transportation business, like you said, is a very broad sector. And the truth is, no one company can actually fulfill that need of transportation. That's the truth. There is always a gap. Remember when I think Ope or Bolt came into Anambra? They also rushed out. The truth is that there is always a gap. So you must identify that gap. You can't copy what Bolt is doing. Bolt has a different vision for themselves. So if you want to survive, if you want to do well, you must recognize something. That is what we call a parity, what you have in common with the other person. And there's a point of difference and there's a point of parity. Your point of difference is in that need that you have recognized. And it's that need that will keep you going. If you copy the same thing, you will end up failing. That's the truth. And so many ride companies, tail ride companies that have copied the same thing, they're no more. Because you can't do the same thing. So inside that market you're seeing, which is the people, there's something they're complaining about, which you can leverage on and create something better.
Thank you very